Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you. Today we're going to be taking a look at the performance of finally Grand Theft Auto 5. So Grand Theft Auto 5 at the time of recording the video is about a day old, but there are still a lot of people having some problems, not necessarily downloading because that can obviously be slow because of demand, but with some little bugs in the game. So right from the start we have made a guide that I'm going to magically pop up on the website so you can go and read, and if any of those problems, you're having any of those problems, we've shown you a fix for it as well. There is a small problem with the benchmark at the start as well, but what I will do is I will talk to you about that when we get into the actual settings of the game itself. But most important thing, the reason why we're here, the game's new, you want to know how it runs. So what I've done is I've taken an ASUS Matrix GTX 980 and ASUS Matrix 290X. They've both got 4 GB of VRAM and we've put them head to head to see how well they've performed. We're going to show you some screenshots as well. Now, although this video will be rendered in 1920 by 1080, I'm going to show you some 1440 screenshots and some 4K screenshots. How can you do that, you're saying? Well, I can do that because what I will do is I won't resize the images and I will just show you a portion of it, but at the same settings. If that works out that it works all right in YouTube, then all well and good. We shall see when it's rendered and you guys are watching it. But what we've got to do now is we're going to bring you in and we're going to talk about some of the specifics about the game and the settings that we're going to be using within. Now, one of the bugs is when you get to the original screen or the start screen, you can go into settings here and then you can go down and go to graphics. And when you click into graphics, it does give you an option down here to run benchmark tests. Now, when you first play the game, sometimes this won't work. I don't know whether it's going to get fixed later on, but what you will need to do is play the game for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And what that will do is eventually you will get back to this guy's house. And when you get back to the guy's house, go into the bedroom, walk over to the bed and save the game. From there on in, you will be able to properly run the benchmark tests. Once you have got to that portion of the game, you can see over here is his bedroom. Now then, once you get to this sort of stage, all you need to do is press escape. This is in the story mode. And then once you get to the story mode, you can come over here to settings, hit enter, you come down and you go to graphics. Now when we get in here, what we have done is we've left the ignore suggested limits off, and I'll explain more in a second. Everything that we can do below is turned down. Now in this, we're going to be running 1080 tests, we're going to be running 1440 tests and 4K tests where possible, and I will show you why in a second. We're also pointing the camera at the screen because if we use a screen capture, it does affect the frames per second, and I do want to show you the frames per second in the video as real as it possibly can be. And then the other thing that we're going to be changing in the graphs later on, you'll see we've got the MSAA down here. And in the graphs, we changed it from off to 4 and 8. So we've got 1920 by 1080, 1440 and 4K, and the MSAA 4 and 8 as well. So off 4 and 8. Right, so back up to the top, the video memory. Basically, it's a guide, and when you start turning the resolution up, because obviously I've got a 4K screen, but we've got a tie in there and we've gone from 2560 by 1440. So let's have a look at what our start was. Go back down. Oh. Right, 1920 by 1080. We start at basically 2400 megabyte, for want of a better term, or as near as damn it. That is only a guide, because when you do run it in the main game, it will go up, and I'll show you a graph to show you what the reality of it was as well. But what we can do is we can, if we have a look at the resolution as we go up, so we're at 2.4, then we go up to 2560 by 1440, now at 253, so you can see it does go up. And if we go all the way up to 4K, you can see that it's now gone just above 3 GB. I'll just zoom you in so that you can see it a bit better. There you go, you can see 3 GB. Right, so we are there And then when you come down to the MSAA as well, if you start to turn it up, you can see that this video memory is just spiked massively. If we go up to 4, it's now red. And once it's gone red, unless you turn this ignore suggested limits off, it won't let you set it. Because obviously video RAM or VRAM is a big deal. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave it off, and then you hit space to apply changes. And now we're back in there, but we're at the 4K resolution, and I'm going to run the benchmark through so that you can see it, and I will also show you or tell you the part of the benchmark that we actually use for our results as well, and then I will talk about all the results within. So if you've not seen this already, this will be interesting for you. If you have seen it already, it'll be something that you want to skip. So this is the benchmark, and you can see we've got the frames per second counter at the bottom. We're running this on a 4960X. I had to think myself then, 16GB of VRAM. This is actually running at this present moment in time. This result is being done with a 290X at 4K with 0 AA. And we've got the VSYNC turned off. Obviously, that's why you're seeing a little bit of tearing. We need the VSYNC off because we obviously don't want it getting capped. We could have run this on the 980, but it just turns out that the 290X was the last one I actually did the tests with. When this section ends, this is where we run our benchmark test from. We had to use fraps for that, just do a normal frames per second test. So we would start it now. And this is where we run ours from. That water section, I will say, looks amazing. So I do want to try and keep talking to you, so you're not just listening to this and, you know, it's all dead and dead quiet, but it is a benchmark at the end of the day. I have to say, with all games, it always annoys me when you're moving fast, when the grass is kind of like texturising itself and adding shadows. And we've got all of this maxed right out as much as we possibly can do. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Other than the AA, this is with the game absolutely balls to the wall, and without AA on the 290X it's more than playable. It's obviously not that 60 frames per second magical moment, but it is still pretty good. This part of the benchmark is quite cool because it's never the same thing every time. So for a reviewer like me, that's probably watched this, I don't know, 40 times in the last 24 hours, it gets to be quite funny to see the changes and what's different and what cars get knocked off and how many pedestrians get killed. And once the truck is blown up, that would be, well, around now would be when I would be stopping fraps, and that would be the end of our performance run. Now I did promise you I would show you some comparable screenshots, and I'm hoping that it's going to work in the review. Otherwise, I'm probably likely just to cut it out. So here's the 1080 screenshot. Here's the 1440 screenshot. And here's the 4K screenshot. Okay, so just to cover my rear end, what I've done is I have videoed a separate screenshot bit. So if you've not seen it, it's because it didn't look very well when I was rendering or editing, and I've taken it out. So if it was before, you know why. If it isn't there, you know why as well. Sorry to get confusing, but I'm never going to know until I actually get into the editor. So the most important thing, other than this is actually still playing right now, and obviously the tearing is because of we've got VSYNC off. This would be a great point for FreeSync or G-Sync monitor owners, because you've obviously, once you've enabled that, you won't get any tearing or any problems like that. And it's very, very rarely in my testing I get to see it, but this game, it's horrific for it. So a note to those of you out there, if you want to see all the bells and whistles and you don't want those frame caps, FreeSync and G-Sync, depending on your graphics card, boom, there you go, lovely, bubbly. Right, so the results that we got throughout. We obviously did 1080, 1440 and 4K tests, and what we also did is 0AA, 4AA and 8AA. If we haven't got the results for 4AA and 8AA, it's because it went over that video buffer limit, especially in the 4K test. We only even managed to get 1080 out of that, because as soon as you start turning all the AA up in the larger resolutions, it literally rockets. So that's the reason why some of the results are missing. But the most important thing, as you can see at the bottom, we've got a result for every single one. Right at the top, the only 4K test that we could do without having the suggested limits removed, and it does make a drastic difference when you do remove them, I might add, because obviously it goes over the video buffer, is the 4K at 0AA. And you can see there that both cards are roughly about the 46, well, they're over 40 frames a second, so that's great, and that's obviously an average. I think the minimums did just drop below a couple of times below the 30 frames per second mark. So then probably the one that I would say is the good mix of AA and resolution is the 1440 at 4 times AA, and there you can see the average frames a second is about 54, 50 with both cards. If you go down to all off at 1080, you can see both cards are well over 110 frames per second. Now, one of the things we can say, and this is the point of the review, that the 980 is blatantly in front of the 290X. There's also quite a significant price premium for the 980 as well. So if you want an answer to which is faster, single card, then you can say that the 980 is quickest. It doesn't necessarily favour either brand, it's just the fact that the 980 does have a little bit more grunt than the 290X. But another thing that we do need to raise here is the 290X is significantly lower in price, and it also is significantly older in the architecture stakes as well. But when you do look at those frames per second in the graph, they are incredibly close. So that is another point. The performance award would go to the Nvidia team, the green team, because they are winning, but the value for money, or the Gamer's Choice Award, in this respect would go to the AMD card. So there are definitely favours for both. One thing I will say is that if you do want to play at 4K with all the resolutions turned up nice and high, you're going to need a lot more video RAM than 4 GB a second. I will go as far as to say, and Nvidia are going to hate me for it, that I am hoping that the 980 Ti comes out with 6 GB of VRAM, because with 4K at 8 AA, it does need it. And I said the 980 Ti, and it's not even been spoken about yet, but what are my thoughts upon that are Titan X with half the video memory, 980 Ti, boom. I'm pretty sure that when we see the 300 series cards, that they are going to either have 6 GB or 8 GB of VRAM as well, because games are now starting to get to the point where they do require a hell of a lot of video memory. But that's a really good thing as well, because it helps keep things all really interesting, and it also means that it's pushing the card manufacturers further and further to improve the architecture and improve the video memory performance. So with Grand Theft Auto 5, Nvidia wins out on a full-on balls to the wall performance test, but at the same time AMD did admirably well with a cheaper card that's been out a lot longer. So it's completely down to you guys how you want to run it. One thing that we will say is that with the AA on high resolutions, you are going to need an awesome amount of video memory, which means that you're going to end up paying a lot of money for your graphics as well. If you are an Nvidia user, don't forget you can turn on the dynamic super resolution. I believe that's in the, if you go into the Nvidia control panel, you can turn that on there. What that will do on a 1080 screen, it can give you 4K-like effects, and it does really smooth out and make that game extra nice without having the power hungriness and basically the resource hungriness of a 4K screen. So if you've got a really nice 1080 screen, get the DSR on and it will look the nuts. But I'm not going to bore you anymore. I wanted to try and keep this all nice and quick, get it out nice and fast so you guys can see the differences. But for now at least, this is Tiny Tom Logan with this Grand Theft Auto 5 performance review, because that's pretty much what it was. Out.